Om Shanti. Welcome to the next normal in collaboration with America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. You know, I'm looking forward to having my conversation with our very special guest that's coming up. Why? Because the world is in such a state. What she likes to say, it's a hot mess. It's just in a hot mess. There's just a lot of interior. Is it fear? Is it attachment? Is it, I don't want to use the word ignorance, but it's almost as if we've become so separated from the real I, the true I. So it's as if we've now entered into a world divided by so many issues inside of our own selves and some hot messiness. So as author, activist, and public theologian Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis puts it, it is a hot mess. So race and ethnicity, caste and color, gender and sexuality, education and who gets educated, who isn't, who doesn't, religion and political party, they've all become demographic labels that actually reduce our differences to simplistic categories in which we are vehemently against them. In her new book, Fierce Love, a bold path to ferocious courage and rule-breaking kindness that can heal the world, Reverend Dr. Lewis urges us to forge a new path forward, one driven by love, empathy, and compassion. Reverend Dr. Lewis is the first female and first Black senior minister to serve in the Progressive Collegiate Church, which dates to 1628. Her activism work has been featured by The Today Show, MSNBC, The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. Okay, you get it. She's the creator of the MSNBC online show Just Faith and the PBS show Faith and Justice, in which she led important conversations about culture and current events. Her new podcast, Love Period, is produced by the Center for Action and Contemplation. Today, we're so honored to welcome the amazing Dr. Reverend Jacqui Lewis to The Next Normal and America Meditating Radio. That was a mouthful. Why you have to be so busy, girl? That's just way too much.
I need to take a nap, Sister Jenna.
Why are you so busy? Why are you so busy trying to change the world with all your goodness?
because you and I know that that's what we must do. We must do
Yeah.
that. We're called to do that. Yeah.
Congratulations
Thank you so
on
much
your
for
call.
Oh, thank you for you too. And thank you for inviting me here today. Just listening to you speak makes my heart beat slower. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're too sweet. Love is a force, and yet we're finding it, as if people don't understand the language anymore, the word. If somebody tells you you're a loveless person, you would say, no, I'm not, because you look at all the areas of love that you give.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that your love for God really opened up when you were about 8 years old.
That's
and after
right.
this assassination of Mr. King,
Right.
you were catalyzed to work, against racism and poverty in America, which is still happening today, unfortunately. Tell us a little bit about these experiences that you had at that age.
Thank you so much, Sister Jenna. I think I fell in love with God, I would say, through my mother, with my mother as an envoy or a matchmaker. Let's call it a matchmaker. She and Dad grew up in the church, and they both were raised in Mississippi. We moved to Chicago, and the church around the corner was the one where my aunt played organ and my uncle sang. And it was a small church, small Presbyterian church that had space for kids. We danced on the pulpit. We helped lead worship. We helped with the fellowship hour, volunteering, and sang in the choir. And this first time I took the Eucharist, the communion, is called in the Christian tradition, which is really a Passover meal kind of thing on a Sunday. The bread came by, and my mom said, "This bread means God will always love you." And it was a sweet little piece of bread. You know how kids love miniature things. that Hawaiian bread. And I was like, wow, God loves me. And then when the little cup came by, Mom said, God will never leave you. And I have to say, Sister Jenna, that's the faith. That's my faith. God will always love you. God will never leave you. You know, love, period. So it's planted in me as a little person.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the 10 Commandments or whatever other ethical teachings my parents wanted to pull out of the Bible, and some leaders pulling teachings out of the Bible that I found to be oppressive as opposed to liberative. That simple, God always will love you and God will never leave you, I think hooked me. And then about a year later, Dr. King is killed. And, you know, he's a hero. He's a lover. He's a liberator. He's a teacher. We're mesmerized by his speech. I Have a Dream, the March on Washington. And as a little person, this good person is killed. Why? Absolutely blows my mind and traumatizes me and catalyzes me. I'm under my bed. The people in Chicago are shooting and angry and sad and grief. So it's really frightening. But I'm really clear at just about 9 that I'm supposed to pick up his mantle and be a drum major for peace. So there's a kind of precocious something in that, but really as real as any other experience I've had, a feeling of calling in to that space that guided my life in many ways, but finally took me to seminary at 30 to get ready, you know, to
Well,
be in the love army.
you know, it's so interesting how many of us have questioned God and love when internally we witness what we would say good people like getting killed, getting traumatized, getting abused, getting raped, you know, getting abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And we start to question the energy of the divine, of sacred, of divinity, only to realize maybe like as we grow older, and I will say in particular this time period that we're in where there's so much
Mm-hmm.
woke or so much awakening taking place, that we realize that as souls we are carrying a vibrational energy from every bit of experience or choices that we've made.
Yes.
And as much as sometimes I hate to look at that because when I was ignorant and I did something in some past incarnation that gave sorrow, I didn't think about the repercussions of it many lives later.
Yes.
And it makes the whole drama of human relations between people a very complex narrative that really you have to take God out of it. And the only time I put God in it is when I see the beauty
Mm.
between people, when I see
Mm-hmm.
harmony between people,
Yeah.
when I see that there's respect in a conversation between two folks who have opposite ideas. I would say there's God present right now. But
That's
when I see
beautiful.
the killing and the maiming and the arguing and the disrespect, I go, this is just not right. But then there's another part of God that wakes up in us because even though from 8 you knew God will never leave you and God is love, just buy a little piece of bread and a cup.
That's
It's
right.
amazing how that memory can come up.
Yeah.
Here you are, you know, you're being a good girl. You're in the corporate world. But there was something that kept gnawing at you, and at 30 you decided to go to seminary and earn a master's in divinity from Princeton Theological Seminary. So, can you take us back or tell us what were those thoughts that were calling you that led
Mm-hmm.
you to such a major transition in life?
Yeah. Thank you so much for putting that all together so beautifully. It was a gnawing, persistent. Gnawing sounds not how it felt. It felt persistent that I was yearning for something. I was yearning for something that I knew existed. And I didn't really want it for myself, Sister Jenna. I wanted to be able to help other people have it. I got oldest child syndrome, you know, the sense of the strong helper in me. And I didn't get it in the corporate world. And the God I was relating to, I love how you say, where is the God in it? And I was wondering almost always, what's love got to do with it? I felt so impinged by what I think was intended for good about religion, the religion I inherited, that started feeling like everything was about what you don't do. You don't have sex before you get married. And if you do, you don't be gay. And if you do, then if you don't curse, you don't smoke, you don't wear makeup, you don't wear pants, you you don't hang out with the Muslims and the Buddhists and the Jews because they're not chosen. I mean, it was just crazy. It just felt so
Weird.
like like what kind of God is this
Yeah.
that expects
Yeah.
this of us? And I just wanted, the part of me that's intellectually curious, the part of me that felt that was unauthentic and untrue. I just needed to baptize myself, go through a river to see what it was really about. And I'm so glad I did. I was so glad that I went through that 2.5-year journey of stripping away. A lot of our pastors will tell us, when you go to seminary, you're going to lose your faith. Yes. Thank
Wow.
be to God. You lose that child faith, that childhood faith, and get a grown-up faith, and understand that God is multilingual. Understand that if there is a God, and I think there is, the divine is in everything. The divine is calling everything into relationship. And so leaving the corporate world to go to seminary was about shedding something, but also, Sister Jenna, if I hadn't had that corporate experience, I'm more real. I'm more real because I sold copiers. I'm more real because I hung out at crazy bars with young adults who were medicating ourselves. I'm more real because I had these real life experiences before I went to seminary. And the two journeys together bring me to this place where love is my religion.
Beautiful. I love that. Love is my religion. I think being able to be exposed, one of the things, and I'm not taking sides, I have friends in all different factors of religion, but especially if the Episcopalian branch where you can get married, have kids, and serve, right? Whereas
Right.
in the Roman Catholic, you have to stay celibate, and then you hear all the amazing undercurrents that take place that's making people think the religion is a problem. It's not the religion, it's the people and their
Yes,
struggles
exactly.
that's
That's right.
actually taking place within the walls of the religion and the idea of what the religion stands for. I feel that as we continue our journey, we're not alone in anything that we're going through. And sometimes we do feel that we are alone, and love leaves us.
Mm-hmm.
We get so attached to our bruises, our
Mm.
interpretation, our narratives. And I was surprised to hear you when you say the pastor says if you go to seminary school, you're going to lose your faith. You're going to lose your faith in illusion.
Amen.
And you're going
Exactly.
to cultivate a faith in what is true, which is to
Yes.
love fearlessly. You
Yes.
wrote an entire book on this. So tell us, what does this mean? And what was the catalyst for you writing Fierce Love?
Yeah. It was a 9-year journey to the book, long time, wrestling in the context of my beautiful community in New York, the multi everything place called Middle Collegiate Church, a laboratory for love. What what was what what did love have to do with it? We were doing a justice conference every year. For a while, we talked about just the power of stories to change the world. For a few seasons, we talked about what it really means to grow multi-ethnic churches. And then it was in the zeitgeist, revolutionary love. The kids in Ferguson, revolutionary love, 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 at the beginning of the marches. My friend Valerie Kaur, Rabbi Michael Lerner, both wrote books about revolutionary love. Serene Jones at Union Seminary led the AAR, American Academy of Religion, with revolutionary love. It was bubbling up everywhere. And I started wondering, what is revolutionary about love? And it is its fierceness. I mean, the fierceness of revolutionary love made, Valerie take her camera and go all around the country after 9/11. The fierceness made those firemen and those policemen, those first responders, the women, the nurses run into the building as it fell down. Fierce love makes people go to the border and bear witness to the atrocities there. And fierce love made people wade in the tepid, fetid waters of Katrina and Sandy and save people, risking their own lives. Fierce love is what, made my mama protect me on the playground when kids were picking on me. My dad go to the Air Force Base and demand apologies when I'm called the N-word. It's fierce, right? It's not nammy-pammy. It's not codependent. It's not squishy. It's sacrificial love that made King walk with the sanitation workers, right? To his death, in a way, made him decide to stop playing politic and say, this Vietnam War is wrong, risking his popularity. Fannie Lou Hamer, fierce love makes her stand up in the world and demand to be seen and to be a woman, an uneducated Mississippi woman leading a movement. So this is what I've been playing with. Like how does it come to be that we understand love as power? So love as fierce, love for yourself, fiercely, accepting yourself, love for your neighbor, for your posse. I am inextricably connected to you. I must care about your self-interest because yours is mine. In the spirit of Ubuntu, I am who I am because you are who you are. And love for the world, Sister Jenna, that sends us into the world, making it better in our backyard, in Detroit, in Afghanistan, in China, because we are all each other's people. That kind of love is not quiet. It is loud and it is fierce.
And I think it's needed because we've been on a journey now, and while on the journey, we've picked up pieces of stuff that we know we need to let go of, and it holds us back
Right.
from
Absolutely.
allowing that love to create harmony and to create order in the universe. So when we actually see injustice or tragedy at a heightened level, we can't allow the limitation or the weakness that we've gotten accustomed to, that we're holding on to just let us sit there and be quiet. So it's like we almost have to use it, like when Adele sings, she uses all of that pain and suffering in her music.
She
That you're
does.
like, how does she do that? Every word she sings, you feel something. So I think we all have it when we decide that we're going to let the fire in that love move us beyond our limitation and beyond whatever tragedy we're witnessing. It moves us into the whole conversation of Ubuntu. I love this. I love this form and this idea. But I definitely want you to speak about it from your point of view, because you speak at length about Ubuntu through the book. So tell our audience a little bit about what it means and where the term originated from.
Yeah. I'm going to butcher this, but I'm trying to say it so my mouth and my mind can be together. Umuntu, ungumuntu, ungubantu. A human is a human through other humans. That's the way the Zulus say it. Better than me, but a human is a human through other humans. This is bedrock, base of brain, early evolutionary learning that happens at the cradle of civilization. It's just outside of South Africa. It's right there in the Zulu culture, where we all know that we come biologically from this place. A human is a human through other humans. I am only a person because my community sees me into existence. I thrive and I survive in community. When the Zulu people see each other, they say Sawubona, which means I see you, or better, we see you. We are the lives we've lived, but we the people, we the deities, we my posse, we all see you. Plural. We see you. And the response is Sakona, I exist. I exist. And I would say, we exist. My cosmology, my people, my stuff, my ancestors, we exist. We exist because you see me. Nelson Mandela, is imprisoned on Rikers Island, writing about Ubuntu, seeing the humanity of his captors, saying, and I'm paraphrasing, those folks weren't born hating. They learned to hate. And if we learn to hate, we can relearn love. Like love is the first natural instinct. Bishop Tutu and his granddaughter both write about Ubuntu from the context of apartheid, from the context of that suffering and that anguish and that racism. Their hearts were still able to understand love as power, Ubuntu as power. So I weave this through my book. I bumped into it actually during my PhD studies, studying leadership. It's in the leadership literature, this kind of interrelatedness. And I realize it's what Gandhi is talking about, and it's what King is talking about when he says we're in a garment woven together, paraphrasing him, but inextricably connected one to the other. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Those kinds of sentiments are in the culture because we know it's true. We know it's true. And I'm delighted to be able to just put it into a place, a kind of accessible place.
Yeah. I see you. It reminds me of a story. A young boy in school would hold up his hand when the teacher would ask a question, and the teacher would just not pick on him at all.
Mm.
And after a while, he went home and he told his mom, "My teacher doesn't like me." And the mother turned to her son and said, "Why do you think so?" And he said to his mom, "She doesn't see me."
Mm-hmm.
And so when we do use this, this idea of I see you, it is such a deep acceptance and regard to your existence as God's
Mm-hmm.
child on the planet Earth. And then what can we co create as God's children if we work for the common good? But because of this algae, this acronym I use, anger, lust, greed, attachment, and ego,
Mm-hmm. I love
that's the
that.
cause. That's the cause for all the problems in
It
the world.
is.
It's not
That's
because you're
right.
black, you're white, you're rich, you're poor. It's because of this consciousness that has woven itself in your personality that you're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you might not have the language to deal with your struggle with your own issues, then of course you spill it out on people along the way. But in the book, you do give some daily practices that we can incorporate to help to channel love and strengthen our, inner and self love, inner and
Right.
outer self love. Could you elaborate a little bit on those?
Yeah. Along with Ubuntu, the other thread in the book is, love neighbor as self. Love neighbor as self. The all the world's major religions have some kind of way of talking about that connection. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Don't withhold from someone that which you need for yourself. One tradition says, don't break anyone else's heart. So I just have been wrestling with maybe part of why we have algae, maybe part of why we're not able to love others is because we actually don't love ourselves enough or at all. I don't think we're taught self love. I don't think we're encouraged about self love. We understand narcissism. We understand self aggrandizement. We understand um, egotism, egoistic people as out of bounds. I'm beginning to think maybe what really is true is that there's an absence of love of self in that person, and there's a facade or fake self, a false self that looks like it's brave, but actually it's terrified. So the first part of the book are practices about loving yourself, examining your story, so you can love yourself unconditionally. Like find in your weak places your superpowers and celebrate them. Think about the way you've been hurt, that at the place where you've been hurt is where you can grow a love muscle. You can grow strength. Be honest, be truthful, tell the truth to yourself as a practice to telling the truth to others because we can't love a lie. Letting go of the heavy burdens you carry through the process of therapy or spiritual direction or self reflection. Like, let it go. Dragging that stuff around is harmful. So that's part one. Part two are practices about loving your posse, developing the ability to confront as a way to honor people, to build relationships based on vulnerability, to find bravery in that, is the second part. So there's 3 practices on loving your people, your closest neighbor, your family, and also your communities. And then finally, 3 practices on loving the world, loving the self. And my favorite practice in that, I'm inviting people to believe assiduously in love, but the core message in that is learning how to see. So we're back to Ubuntu. We're back to I see you. The rabbis say a moral life is about learning how to see, learning how to let go of indifference. John Lewis, if you see something, say something, do something. So calling people into 3 practices that ultimately lead us to see each other, see the world, see the issues as calling us in to be a part of the solution.
Yeah. Love for the self, love for each other, love for the world.
Yes.
All of it sounds so good. So
And
good.
also hard, right?
And you know what? I was just thinking as you were saying that we have all of this, like it's there. And
Yeah.
just last night, I was in not a loving, fierce mode with my mother last night. She was in
Mm.
another space. Look, don't blame me for being human, but she was just in a mood yesterday. And, sometimes stuff builds up in you and
Yep.
you're, it's not her, but she's mirroring to me
Mm-hmm.
areas in my life that I still need some adjustment. And
Mm-hmm.
as much as I wanted to speak and find that energy that comes from that embodied state of love, I found that I was speaking to her from a state of an attachment to a way that I would prefer her to be. And I
Yes.
would say that I think this is good for you. And in a way, it's going to be good for me too.
Right.
And she was just oblivious.
Mm.
She's And then I could see that there were some of the words that I spoke, and somehow it went in, and she was just kind of just like she, like the body language was saying, I don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Mm.
what else to do. You know, I saw
Yes.
that. So even when we have that in us, it's hard for us to be able to bring world peace to the stage. So,
That's
with all the
really true.
divisiveness and the chaos and the
Yeah.
violence and
Right.
the discord that we're witnessing around the world, how can we bring back kindness and respect for one another using Ubuntu or fierce love? I mean, you've given us these 3 steps and ways that we can look into it. But is there a deep personal practice that
Mm-hmm.
you can share with us that must be a consistent practice? For example, mine is keep checking if I'm moving away from my peace.
Mm.
So, as I was talking to her last night, I could feel I was moving away from my peace.
Mm-hmm.
So, that means whatever I said was only going to give sorrow because it's giving me sorrow.
Right. Right.
And as much as I was recognizing it, I wanted to pull back and stop. But this little tongue that's only 2 inches long could not stop.
Could not stop.
And then I
Right.
just like, come on, Jen, she doesn't know better. She's been like this your whole life. You've always been there. But it was like things were just coming up. But what is that one thing in you that you need to pay attention to that can help you to take you closer to that love?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to try to make a 2-parter on that one thing. I think one thing is really to draw the compassion and the love and the forgiveness toward yourself. So, honestly, every day, yesterday, I wrote a note, an email to a colleague. As I was writing it, I thought, this isn't going to really land like I want it to. But I just didn't stop enough because I was hurt. Had feelings. I was having a feeling. And I was thinking that if I had stopped and given myself like a little medicine, a little compassion, literally in the mirror say, Jacqui, you're feeling hurt and that's good. Let's interrogate that feeling. Let's be with that feeling. It's real. It's that feeling is a fact. You don't have to pretend like it's not there, but you deserve love. Let's try to work on forgiving yourself for having this out of body feeling. Let's direct some love toward you. So then I'm not reaching out to that colleague, right, Jenna, for the thing I need because it's in here. I can let it go myself. I don't have to extrovert it to let it go. So compassion and just self-love and um, giving yourself grace is the word I want to say.
Yeah.
To feel what you
Yeah.
feel and be with it. That's one. And then two, if you're really doing that for yourself, friends, it's the other side of the muscle, right? Like
Yeah.
your outer thigh muscle and the back of your thigh muscles. The other side of that muscle is that same kind of reflexive love for the other. What's happening for that person right now that's making them be cray-cray? What is this right now? It's not about you, it's about them. And if you can just get some distance from it and give it grace, give it space, you don't have to jump in with like murderous, angry thoughts. You can just jump in with curiosity, right?
Yeah.
And curiosity is better than violence. So, grace for you and the other.
Grace. I love that. I will connect grace to what you and I just shared together is that we're also paying a lot of attention.
Hmm.
We're paying attention to the tension that we're going through.
Right. That's exactly
Yeah, and
right.
and that's definitely helping us to move towards grace. All right. Hope everyone's enjoying my conversation with the amazing Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis. I know that I am. And if there are any thoughts that are emerging in your mind, of course, you'll be able to connect with her on her website as we get to the end of our program. Let's talk about the New York City's Middle Collegiate Church and
Mhm.
the important work that you and your congregation are doing to spread Ubuntu and fierce love.
Yeah, I am so fortunate to have found this community. 17 years ago, I came to study the church for my dissertation. I was looking at leaders who lead multiracial churches, and Middle was a white church with Black congregants and a couple of Latinx folks and a couple of Asian folks. But the intention was there, the love was there, the full on welcome of LGBT folks were there. And I wondered, how does a white man from Michigan know how to hold this diversity? So I studied them. And the white man from Michigan retired and they hired me. It is incredibly multi on the things. Black and white, Asian, Latinx, Indigenous, toddlers, and octogenarians, people who are wealthy, people who are very poor. And what we
I
have in
love that.
common is we're all trying to walk toward love together. Is amazing.
I love that. Can't
It's
wait to
just
visit it when
amazing.
I
It's
I
amazing.
can't wait to come and visit that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
500 more people joined our church since March of
Wow.
2020 because
Wow.
we learned how to do love and connection even in the digital spaces. So
Wow.
it's remarkable, and we invite people to find us at middlechurch.org.
Mm, it's amazing.
Yep, that's where I
I
am.
can't end our conversation without talking about your relationship with your father and his
Mm.
issues with your husband and what actually happened and
I love the way you
what
said husband.
what was it that made you choose that love, and and go through all the stuff that you went through because you spoke about it very openly in the book.
My dad used to bathe me and my sister together, and bath time was just crazy fun. Water splashing, make a mess, towel dry. He made life fun. Shopping for shoes, cooking when mommy was working, so many good things. And also, he was a hurt boy. And sometimes his hurt boy shows up when he's feels dissed or we're sassy or, any number of things. And the hurt boy has a temper. And that was very painful sometimes. But the reason I tell on dad in the book is I'm telling on me also. And I'm telling on choosing dad. My own hurt person can have a temper, not not quite like his, but I've learned over my lifetime how softly to speak when I'm sad or angry as opposed to yelling. I've learned how not to shut people out, put people out. I learned that watching my dad get it wrong. but also in these years that he's aging. Jenna, he's so beautiful. He's so vulnerable and so honest and so loving us better, loving all of us better. Um, Giving my sister some mothering that she needs because mom is gone. Calling us and saying, you know, I miss you. So he's a transformational narrative alive and well. And I hung in with him. I hung in
No.
with him when he hurt
But
me.
what was it when he was like, John is not the guy for you? What
Oh,
was
John
it
was
that?
white. John was white and old.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all you
Yeah,
had to say.
yeah. John was white and old,
Oh no.
and John was white and old and looked like somebody from Mississippi. That's what he
Oh my
said.
God.
So he
Oh
just
my
couldn't do
gosh.
it. But here's the deal: he and John are buds now. They
I bet they are.
talk out the stuff. They play pool and talk trash.
I
John
bet
refuses
they
to play
are.
cards with my dad because that's no fun. But he and daddy are really good friends
Oh
because time
wow.
changes things and
Yeah.
they've told each other their stories and they love each other.
Great. That's a great story. Well, thank you for giving us that little insight. So, look, as we come to a close, tell us anything else we need to capture from the book and from what you're doing that you'd like to leave us with.
I want to say that in this book, Fierce Love, I am fiercely honest. I am fiercely candid. I am naked about my stuff because I think that that is actually the way to love myself fiercely. And I want to invite the readers, when you read the book, to really come along with me on a journey of telling the truth so you can love yourself, so you can take risks to love your neighbor. And your neighbor is the one you live with and the one around the globe who is suffering. And I want to invite you to be in a movement, in a river, Rumi says, to do something from your soul that is a joy, and for your soul to engage the world in healing. Because we've only got one home. This is it. We all live on the planet. And if we can just do what we can where we are, we can make it all better together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis, you've been a delight. Thank you so, so much for your
Thank you.
wisdom, your heart, your transparency, your fierce love, and leave us with a website that our viewers can contact you if they have any questions or queries.
Please do at JacquiJLewis.com. I'd love to hear from you. There's a space there for you to write to me. You can pre-order the book. You can order the book there. You can link to Middle Church and find great music and jazz and good preaching. So JacquiJLewis.com. And follow me
Beautiful.
at Rev Jacqui Lewis on all the places.
Oh, that's so perfect. Thank you so very much. So, folks, we've gotten some more insights on how to initiate more fierce love despite whatever are the obstacles that might show up in front of us. It's a chance. It's our opportunity. It's our golden opportunity to bring love to the forefront. Yeah, I know it's a little challenging. I know it. It's like 99% of a lack of love is omnipresent everywhere around us. And so you've got to dig from deeper than you to really pull that love out of you. You know why? Because God is love and He made you that way. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful day. Remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission. And I suspect we are actually here on this planet Earth to practice, to apply just loving each other the same. Try it. You'll have less conflicts with each other. Take care, and I'll see you soon.